Welcome to the GTN Show.
Welcome. On this week's show, one of triathlon's greats calls it a day, and one of the current best athletes in the world makes his Ironman debut.
Plus, Kenyon has a special Roth bike deal, and Patrick Lange risks a big bag of cash so he can take a break.
And the iconic Wildflower Triathlon is back.
Starting as we always do with a roundup of the things we've noticed on the internet over the last week. Starting with this, Alex Yee has had an arena named after him, an athletics arena, not a football arena. The Alex Yee Ladywell Arena, from Lewisham to the world. He says, the Alex Yee Ladywell Arena, my home track, stamped in the heart, lost for words, thank you. And it's a pretty cool little endorsement for Alex Yee there, from his hometown, naming a athletics stadium after him.
Yeah, that is pretty big, cool. Isn't it? You never know, it might also be a football stadium. Sometimes they share. Who knows? But that would be even bigger, wouldn't it? He's also, he's riding the high after the Olympics, also just received the Sports Journalist Award, Sportsperson of the Year, which is a pretty big accolade. The previous winners have been the likes of Lewis Hamilton, Jessica Ennis-Hill, Emma Raducanu, Torvald Dean, the whole 2003 England Rugby World Cup winning team, to name but a few.
The Sports Journalism Association is 900 sports media professionals who vote for this winner. So, will we see Alex Yee win the SPOTY, the Sports Personality of the Year?
That's always, that would be the first for a triathlete to win that, wouldn't it? That would be cool for our sport. Let's start a little petition now. We tried to get behind Lucy Charles Barkley. She's been, I think, our closest yet, but we will wait and see.
Meanwhile, World Triathlon have announced their world ranking for 2024, which makes for some interesting reading. Of course, we should point out, though, that unlike the T100, which pays out a lot of money based on their world rankings, this one is more just for interest than actual payment.
I guess it makes a difference for pontoon start positions next year, maybe.
If
you, that's, as expected, Alex Yee is on top of that with Leo Berger second and Hayden Wild in third. The women's is maybe more sort of surprising that Beth Potter is number one in front of Cassandra Bergrand with Emma Lombardi in third. But they also, it's the six best races of 2023 and 2024 and includes nationals through to World Championships. So quite an array. But an interesting list for maybe.
Interesting. Meanwhile, Race Ranger, who we've seen in more and more races this year, in fact, 37 races Race Ranger was at this year, is looking for investors. They said, calling all potential Race Ranger investors, love triathlon, hate drafting. 2024 has been a huge year for us, with 37 of the highest level triathlons in the world. We're now welcoming further investment to take Race Ranger to the next level. In the next 18 months, we'll be further developing the system for use for the thousands for amateurs.
Yeah, that's quite a big goal, isn't it? But I love the fact that their 3 points are for fairness, for safety and data and tracking. And I think all age groups can relate to those. Maybe the fairness one is more for the front pack cyclists. Personally, having raced age group, I find the safety aspect quite a big one. If you've got a massive group and you're all on TT bars and it's not necessarily you, it's the other people that you're around and you don't want them right in front of you. And also there is that cheating element. But then the data and tracking is quite nice. If they can get that, it could make for really accurate ability. If you're following a friend doing an Ironman and you only have to wait every 30 miles or whatever it is till you know how they're getting on, you can kind of see real time. So.
Yeah, I had a discussion with James Elvery while we were out in Cone about what the next steps were and where they're going to go. Clearly, they want to get it into the age group pack, so everyone has this on their bike. But there are some hurdles they need to overcome before they can do that. But I do think that the main thing is that tracking. You'll be able to pull up an app and be able to see exactly where your significant other is on a race course will be very, very useful. More so for the pros, it's the anti-drafting technology. But being able to see all the data and tracking of every athlete would be incredible.
I guess it would just bring up that whole topic, wouldn't it, though, if our course is long enough, but that's a discussion for another day, of having 12 metres between everyone. But we'll move on from that one, otherwise we'll be stuck here all day. There's more hyrox news. We've talked about this a few times on the channel. We've had the likes of Joe Skipper dipping his toe into hyrox, which is kind of a functional fitness competition mixed in with 8 times 1 kilometre of running. And Sebastian Kienle, since retiring, has sort of really thrown himself fully into it and actually won his age group, the 40 to 44 age group, and was 14th overall at the recent event in Hamburg. And that might sound, first in his age group, nothing special, but it is freaking competitive, the hyrox. So, well done.
Yeah, very impressive. He says he's had a bit of an up and down. He missed London, I think, with injury or illness. But he is clearly taking it seriously. You were speaking about doing hyrox.
Well, do you know, the London one...
We know you broke your collarbone,
Yes.
so...
Well, I was actually just saying to our cameraman a moment ago that it was supposed to be this weekend, and my friend who I was doing it as a pairs with, she very quickly, when I broke my collarbone, messaged me going, I don't think you're going to be ready, I'm going to do it solo. So good luck to Ali this weekend, but yes, hopefully she'll still partner with me in the future.
Yeah, cool. We look forward to seeing you try hyrox. I haven't been convinced yet. Moving on, Kat Matthews posted this, looking ahead to the 70.3 World Champs. Now, this has been a bit of a discussion in the whole triathlon world because the 70.3 World Champs happening in mid-December.
Yeah, have you still got the energy for it?
Late. I mean, I barely have enough energy to cover it. Never mind these athletes who have to travel all the way to New Zealand to actually race it after what has definitely been the longest triathlon season ever, by far. And Kat Matthews, obviously, arguably the most successful across both the IRONMAN Pro Series and T100. She's done really well in both series, and she stands the chance, a very good chance actually, of winning the IRONMAN Pro Series. She basically just has to tick that box at the 70.3 World Champs. But as she says in this post, not sure which Kat Matthews is going to show up to that race at this point in the season. She may be firing on all cylinders, having a whole season of fitness under her belt, or she may not be. She said, I normally pride myself on knowing how full/empty my body and mind batteries are, but right now I have absolutely no idea. I could be hitting a limit, or I could be ready to do something special. We'll obviously be watching closely, and hopefully she can do something special. I think, to be honest, her success in both the series... You could probably say she's done something quite special already, regardless of how this race
And it sounds like we might not see that again with the demands of the T100 for next year. So, well done to her. I think even if, however she does, she's going to be going home with a good prize purse.
Yeah.
On the sort of flip side, Patrick Lange is currently leading the IRONMAN Pro Series by a considerable margin. And we did talk about it on the previous shows of how he's decided he's not going to race again this season. He's saying, I'm going to sit back and wait. Now, he is hoping that he's going to win that overall title. However, he can only sit and watch. And he's had quite a lot of, I think, a lot of people have been questioning the why as to this. Yeah,
he wrote a post on his Instagram. He said, why aren't you racing in Busselton? And then he wrote, sometimes the hardest decisions are the smartest ones. I won't be racing 70.3 Western Australia. While it might be a $130,000 gamble to skip it, because staying on top of the IRONMAN Pro Series is unlikely without competing, I believe it's the right call. The season has been incredibly long, 4 long-distance builds, even without finishing one race. Pushed me to my limits and beyond. Lesson learned. I've always prided myself on being smart about my body and the stress I put on it. At 38, I'm still competing at the highest level, and that's no coincidence. Avoiding burnout injuries has always been the key. But $130,000 is more than you get for winning Kona. I mean, the pro world of triathlon has come so far that athletes are turning down. I mean, okay, I understand he's tired and he's had a long season and he's won the world champs. I mean, you can definitely draw a line under it and say it's successful. But all he has to do is get a few points at a 70.3, which might not even be that competitive. And he gets $130,000. If he doesn't do it, he could end up 4th on that series. The difference being $200,000 for winning the IRONMAN Pro Series, $70,000 for 4th place, which he could drop as low as because the 3 nearest competitors to him will all be racing 70.3 World Champs, which has double the prize points, the IRONMAN Pro Series points, as this race does. So they could jump right above him. And he just has to count one more race. He's got an empty slot there in his maximum number of races. He just has to finish it. And he's choosing not to because he needs that medal. I mean,
I think I know what you would do by the sounds of it.
$130,000 is a lot of money.
Yeah, it's hard to comprehend, but it just shows that he's obviously got some great sponsors behind him. So great triathlon.
Yeah, and I bet the rest of those guys, Matthew Marquardt, Gregory Barney and Christian Hugenhag, who stand to jump ahead of him, are not berating his decision in any way.
On to Tri News, and you might have been shouting at us going, hang on, we have missed something that was rather big online, well, in the world of triathlon this week, and it was the retirement of one of the sport's greatest, Alistair Brownlee. And he put up his post just after winning or getting 3rd place at Dubai in the T100. And he says, it's time to close this chapter. This marks my transition from professional triathlon, a moment approached with both dread and excitement in equal measure. Triathlon has profoundly shaped my life. I've dedicated nearly half of it to being a professional athlete, fulfilling my childhood dream and achieving far more than I ever dared to imagine. Why now? It feels right. I'm happy and content eager for what lies ahead. I find myself smiling because it happened rather than crying because it's over. And I look forward to embracing a slightly slower pace of life, yet not too slow, I bet. There's an exciting array of events, challenges and adventures awaiting me, things I've always wanted to have a crack at, but haven't had the chance to pursue. For me, sport has always been a personal journey of exploration, and I'm excited to try some new challenges. Feel free to make suggestions below. Yeah, I bet there'll be plenty of those.
Yeah, I mean, he did just get a podium at the T100, the final, and it was very much kind of like a, finally, Alistair's figuring out the T100, and this is exciting for next year. Alistair Brownlee could win this race. He could win this whole series.
Little did we know.
And then he's handed in his retirement. But actually very justified. His list of palmares for his career is astounding. Arguably, there's an argument that he is the greatest of all time, although people will argue that. He is definitely the greatest of all time in short course distance. 22 World Series golds, more than any other athlete in history. 2009 RTU World Champion, 2011 RTU World Champion, London 2012, obviously Olympic Champion, and the 2016 Olympic Champion, Glasgow 2014 Commonwealth Champion, a Aquathlon World Champion, under 23 World Champion back in 2008, 2006 he was the Junior World Champion, and then of course he actually stepped up to the middle distance, long distance, middle distance. 2018 and 2019, he was second at the 70.3 Worlds, and he did win an Ironman Western Australia with a course record in 7 hours 45. But let's just say he's had a tough time figuring out the long distance, or at least staying injury-free enough for the long distance. But the argument is still very much there that Alistair Brownlee should go down as the greatest who ever did the sport.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's very well represented by some of the comments and the posts that other athletes have been going to the effort.
Kind of broke the internet, didn't he?
Yeah.
Everyone was commenting on Alistair Brownlee's
So you
retirement.
couldn't scroll through without seeing anything, could you? Well, this one is, I think it's a prime example of just some of the tributes from Javier Gomez. It says, today, the legend of Alistair Brownlee announced his retirement from professional triathlon. In my humble opinion, the best athlete to ever do this sport. We all know Alistair's incredible achievements, but what truly makes him unique is the way he raced and how he changed this game. He was aggressive, confident, unpredictable. At his peak, he was so good that he could win a race in the swim, the bike, or the run. Making the races super hard from the beginning, attacking on the bike like there's no tomorrow, and still able to run a 29-minute flat pre-carbon plate shoes.
Yeah, had to put that in there.
Yeah. I have great memories of my rivalry with him and Johnny for many years. Great battles that definitely made me a better athlete as I had to upgrade my game in order to be competitive. He pushed me to my limits, and thanks to that, I reached my highest level in Olympic racing. Thanks to all the battles, Alistair. Thanks for your contribution to the sport. We love and enjoy a very well-deserved retirement.
I'm not sure what I could add to that, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think he's summed it up pretty well, how both he feels, but how the sport in general, the whole triathlon world feels about Alistair Brownlee and his contribution to the sport. He's been absolutely astounding, an absolutely incredible role model for the sport of triathlon, an ambassador for the sport of triathlon. And we at GTN tip our hat to him, to a very good career. I do wonder what's next. Do you think he'll move on like I did to YouTube presenting?
I mean, maybe there's room for one more, Alistair.
Yeah, we'll fit him in, I reckon, if he's interested. In other triathlon news this week, Wildflower Triathlon is back. If you don't know what Wildflower Triathlon is, well, that's because you must have started triathlon in the last few years, because it started way back in 1983 and it was one of the biggest triathlons in the world. I actually raced it back in 2012, loved it, a really incredible event. It's kind of like the Woodstock of triathlon. It's really remote and you everyone camps there, everyone stays there for 3 days, they have the big triathlon and it's an amazing experience. It suffered a little bit. They had a drought, which meant there was no water in the lake that they swim in, so they had to cancel it. Then, of course, COVID happened. It was taken over by new management, but it is back with the original managers. The original owners have bought the race back and brought it back to you. So it starts this year again. It's going to be an amazing festival, and they've changed the name from the Wildflower Triathlon to the Wildflower Experience. And this is because they found in the past that only 1 out of every 3 people who were there for the whole weekend was actually doing the triathlon. The rest were just there for the party, and there were no events for them to do. So now they've got fun runs, they've got stand-up paddleboarding, they've got yoga. They've got all kinds of things on, as well as all the bands and everything that they have there, because it's a full-on festival. It's an absolutely incredible event. We're going to have to try and make our way there.
You've sold it, I think, to too many people. Registration is just going to be flooded now.
To be honest, I think
I am wanting to
it's
sign up
probably
right now.
already sold out, to be honest. It's an incredible event, and I think everyone in the triathlon world is pretty excited that this is back. We were all pretty sad when it did go away a few years ago.
I think we can tell that James is pretty keen, and I have only heard about this, and from you as well.
I'm angling for an invite.
I would love to go and experience that. So, if there's a 4-in-1, that a few of us can watch you do a triathlon, and we can just enjoy the festival experience.
I think if they get you an invite, you're going to have to do the triathlon.
Well, that sounds like a small price to pay. It is from the 2nd to the 4th of May in 2025, and registration is now open. We haven't checked if it's still open, but I would get on it pretty quickly if I were you. Moving on, it is Black Friday just around the corner, as I'm sure you have realised, and we have some amazing deals on the GTN merchandise that is up, and apparently the deals are just going to be getting better as we get closer to Black Friday itself.
In tech news this week, Canyon have released something pretty special. A Canyon Speedmax SLX Road to Roth. And it's a really cool colorway. It looks amazing. Apparently inspired by the laser show that traditionally closes the Roth festival, the finish line party at Roth. And it is a really cool colorway. I really like it. But there's something more that comes with this bike. For the 100 people who get this limited edition bike, they each get an entry to challenge Roth. You don't have to use it in 2025. You can actually use it any year from now until 2029. But your entry is included in the price of the bike. Or a guaranteed entry is included in the price of the bike, which is available for 10,000 euros. It's a really, really nice colorway. It's got the color shift technology. So as you move around it, it kind of changes color, or at least perceived to change colour. It's a pretty cool idea.
Yeah, I think. It is very cool, isn't it? Well, I wonder how many we'll see in Roth next year. Obviously, like you say, it's open for another 4 years, but
probably 99 of the 100.
Yeah, let's hope so. Stunning. I would love that bike, but I maybe don't want the ticket for Roth.
No?
If it comes with...
If we got you that bike and it was the condition that you had to do Roth, would you do it?
I guess I could do an armour for that bike, yeah. I would do it. Anyway, hopefully Canyon aren't listening.
Hopefully they are.
Right, moving on, we have the giveaway to announce, the winner of our giveaway for the Coros package. So it was the Pace Pro watch, the optical heart rate monitor strap, and the Dura bike computer. And that lucky winner is Alfred Frudonal Pedersen. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
On to race news, and all eyes were on IRONMAN Cozumel because the newly crowned T100 world champion Martin van Riel was making his debut Ironman appearance, all with the mind of trying to qualify for next year's World Championships. And it all started swimmingly well, didn't it? 39.48 for the swim. It is current assisted in Cozumel, but still, that was an incredible swim and left the rest of the field in his wake. And it was all looking rather good until the latter stages of the bike. So he'd been leading for all of this until he had a crash. Now, we don't know exactly what happened. He said he swerved maybe a hole or a what's the thing in the middle of the road?
A cat's eye.
Thank you.
He actually posted this. He said, not how I expected my first Ironman to pan out. To bring everyone up to date and have the real story so that you know what happened, because apparently there were some rumours going around. After 175 kilometres on the bike, I lost control of the bike on a cat's eye or a hole in the road. There you go, you answered the question.
Yes, that was the one.
And swerved into the side where a little girl was supporting the race. Unfortunately, I hit her at 50 kilometres an hour and crashed very hard. Luckily, the girl had her family there and she looked relatively okay except for a cut on her finger. The ambulance was quickly there and provided first aid to both of us. Later, the police also came to take a report. After the race, I got brought to the hospital to get my elbows stitched and to do some x-rays. Cozumel has only one hospital, so the girl was also there. And I was able to talk with her and give her my finisher medal and shirt. Her mom told me that every year she watches the race, and I really hope this won't change that. On the brighter side, Bart Ennots won the race and then came to the hospital to support me afterwards, which was great to see. So not the way he wanted it to end. Unfortunately, it did mean he did run the fastest run split despite those 15 to 20 minutes he lost at a bike crash. He ran a 2:39, but that was only good enough for 7th place, which means he didn't get that slot, Denise, which is disappointing because he's probably not going to get another opportunity. He's going to definitely do the T100 series, and it sounds like the T100 series might be as many as 8 or 9 races next year, and he's just not going to have time to do another qualification, or he might be able to, but it's not going to be very easy. Either way, if you take that crash out, pretty impressive debut over an Ironman distance from Martin van Riel with basically leading the bike up to 175 Ks and then running a 239 off it. It's just a pity about that crash. Meanwhile, he did get actually caught in those just before he crashed by Leon Chevalier and Bart Aernouts. So they were all in contention right at the start of the run. It was Bart Aernouts, though, who had the most impressive run. Obviously, Leon Chevalier suffering a little bit on the post-Kona fatigue side of things. But Bart Aernouts ran a 2:43 to take the tape, and his first Ironman win since 2018 at 40 years young.
Cool, isn't it? Yeah,
very impressive. Yeah. As I say, Martin van Riel was 7th. Someone else who was there after Kona and also looking to qualify for Nice next year was Cam Worth.
Yeah, just missing out again on that top 5. He said, well, I had a first today, just not the one I envisaged having. In a nutshell, I got my first career drafting penalty just as our small group had finally made contact with the front of the race. From the absolute perfect scenario to my worst race nightmare. In the blink of an eye, I had 5 minutes standing in the bright yellow sin bin tent. Gotta say, it really sucks standing there. I certainly don't ever want to do that again. At a time of the year when I'm already running on fumes, this totally sucked whatever adrenaline that had kept me going well and truly out of me. My legs had nothing left in them when I finally climbed aboard my bike again. I was totally out of gas.
Oh.
Basically it goes on like that. We have talked about Cam every week since Kona. And he's doing amazingly well. But
he's keeping himself in the news anyway.
Yeah, shame he didn't quite make it into that top 5.
So to wrap up those men who did get their slot for Ironman World Champs in Nice next year, Bart Aernouts, of course, Chris Lieferman in 2nd, Leon Chevalier stamping his ticket, Dario Giovine from Italy, and Dominique Sovia all get their slots for Nice next year.
Yeah, well, the women were obviously racing for slots in Kona. Great to bag an early sort of confirmation of that. And it was Anne Reichman who had the best day. She actually had the fastest bike split and the fastest run to take the win in 8:38. But second place was Lita Perterer, Justine Mathieu in 3rd to get a slot. Julia Mello, who actually had the fastest swim with 44 minutes, 46 seconds, finished 4th. And Elisabetta Corridoro also got that qualification for Kona for next year in 5th.
Meanwhile, we also had challenged Florianópolis in Brazil this past weekend, with Manuel Messias dos Santos taking the win on the men's side and Pamela Oliveira, both from Brazil, taking the win on the women's side. And coming up this weekend, Ironman 70.3 Bahrain, which is pretty exciting because Vincent Louis and Georgia Taylor-Brown, short course specialists, or Vincent Louis just hung up his boots for short course, will be making their 70.3 debut. So we'll be watching that closely, see how Georgia Taylor-Brown goes over the 70.3 distance. Apparently, Vincent Louis put her up to this and said she absolutely has to do it. So she's decided to have a crack, which will be interesting.
She's been focusing pretty well on Superdry, hasn't she? So, that's a bit of a shift.
Yeah, a bit of a shift, yeah. And then, of course, as we said earlier, Ironman 73 Western Australia, the last race except for the 70.3 World Champs in the Pro Series. So that's also worth watching this weekend. And now it's time for Try Spy, where you try and guess which pro's face we got. Last week we had this image, and I think we maybe made it a little bit too easy. Not everybody got it. Zach Collins said Gustav Eden, which it wasn't. And Martin Levy said Junkyard Dog Skippy, my favourite triathlete, except it wasn't him. So, yeah. But it seems like a lot of other people did.
Yeah, we've got Bratin Duta, Jabran Jawide, Jake Pinsky all saying yo, 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 that's Sam Long. We've got Run on the Wild Side, yo, yo, it's Sam Long. They all
Nahalem ZA also Sam Long. You never showed the full photo from last week. Oh, sorry about that. Last week was Peter Reid, and apologies for not showing the full photo. This week we have this one, Cheesy Grin. Whose teeth are those?
They're quite good teeth, aren't they? Does that mean that it's an American's teeth? And, Brits are not known for having good teeth.
What are you trying to say?
Well, I don't know.
I'm feeling self-conscious about my teeth. I'm feeling very self-conscious about my teeth now. Anyway, whose teeth are those? Say what? All right, looking at some of the comments under some of our videos from the last week, and this was under our FTP Indoors versus FTP Outdoors, and why are they different, and how are they different, and are they different? They are different. Ian Resonet said, felt the need to comment that I just tried doing my first full Ironman and did 95% of my rides indoors. I DNF'd at mile 97 on the bike. Personally, with training mostly indoors, I felt racing outside was significantly harder than my long indoor rides. Lesson learned, we'll train outdoors more.
That's a painful lesson to learn, isn't it? But we do also understand that riding outside isn't always so simple. We have JLH saying, I have my first 70.3 coming up in a couple of weeks. I've done 1 4-hour ride outdoors on my bike and it was not pleasant. Stops, lights, constant clipping, unclipping, potholes, cars, other riders, TT bike to handle. I mean, that's a bit of a point there, isn't it? I quickly went back inside after that. 2-hour plus ride indoors is boring, but more practical than the alternative. Now, if you are cycling on a normal bike with friends, outdoors is more fun. Well, yeah, I agree with that part.
Well, yeah, I think there is some balance there, obviously. You can't do all of it indoors, but you can't do all of it outdoors either. I think, yeah, handling the TT bike is definitely not a reason to go indoors. In fact, it's probably the reason to go outdoors.
Exactly.
You do need to handle your bike on race day, so let's practice that before we go out there on race day. But, yeah, it's a very interesting video. We did discuss why your FTP is different indoors. It can be significantly higher indoors, or it's significantly harder to get that FTP up indoors because of certain factors on your bike and how it handles and how your bike reacts underneath you, etc. You can get much more power outdoors, and do you need to adjust your zones, etc. So if you want to watch that video, click it down below right now. It's a very interesting video to watch.
Yeah, we've also got a video coming up for you to keep an eye out for, and the Christmas gift guide. So if you're a little bit lost of what to get your triathlon friend or partner, then hopefully that will be able to help you.
It is that time of year again. It's also silly season, and Mark is attempting to run a 4-minute mile.
Good luck.
Of course, it's Mark, so he can't just run a 4-minute mile. He's going to do it downhill.
Are you saying he can't because he's not good enough, or because
Yes, yeah, absolutely, he can't. More people have climbed Everest than run a 4-minute mile. And Mark's going to go and try and do it, which is why he's doing it downhill. It's going to be a fun video. It's coming out on the channel soon. Thanks for watching. See you again next week.